mean, I will never for the life of me understand watching grown men and women twist themselves in knots, all to really make Donald Trump not feel bad. My fellow guest here knows very well that Joe Biden is the president-elect. His refusal to say so is emblematic of what we see from Republicans all across the country who are more interested in making sure Donald Trump's feelings aren't hurt than they are in telling the truth to the people of whom they're accountable. All these times they've been having conversations with Donald Trump, they're not asking for, an emergency relief check for Americans who need it. They're not asking to extend eviction, unemployment insurance, none of those things. They're just asking, yes, sir, Mr. President, how can I make you feel better about an election you lost? And it's really sick to see. It's really sad.
Yes, it is Friday, December 18th, 2020. Welcome to Raging Chicken's Out to Coot podcast. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken Press. Each week, I talk to our asymptomatic coup survivor, Sean Kitchen, about the good, the bad, and the ugly in state and national politics. It is our last show of 2020, everybody. Our last show of 2020. And you know what? I keep on forgetting to mention this. Right, but we crossed our 200th show a few weeks back, so we're like 205 or something like that right now. So this is our last show of 2020. We've got Christmas coming up next Friday. We got New Year's Day coming up this Friday after that. So we will see you again in 2021. But it's great to have you here today. On today's show, vaccines finally roll out across the U.S. But when you've got an incompetent federal government, it's never going to go smoothly. Good thing Moderna's vaccine just got approval too. That can't come soon enough, as COVID-19 is now killing more than 3,000 people a day. And sorry, kids, you're not gonna get your Christmas presents. Nope, you're not gonna get them in time for holidays, as the USPS, the Postal Service, their sorting facilities are stuffed to the brink with packages waiting to go out. Yes, the GOP's war on Christmas was effective. You thought it was about the elections, but really it was the Republican Party wanted to make sure you got nothing but coal in your stockings. Who would have thought that the systematic destruction of the USPS in order to rig the 2020 election would ruin the holidays? Yes, the GOP war on Christmas. Say it with me, everybody. Say it with me. Lawmakers have been inching closer to an agreement for a COVID relief stimulus bill. Why the hell did he call this thing a freaking stimulus bill? As Katie Porter has been saying right along the line, this is like a freaking relief bill. People need shit right now. Who would have thought that the system... However, negotiations hit a roadblock after, wait for it, PA's own Senator Pat Toomey argued for an extra condition to be added to the package, limiting the ability of the Federal Reserve to lend money via emergency programs. Yes, that's according to Business Insider. Yes, remember Pat Toomey? People was getting all these credit. Oh, Pat Toomey is the statesman coming out recognizing that Biden was the victor. Yeah, well, here you go. Here you go. McConnell said that negotiations are likely to continue into the weekend as a government shutdown also looms. Today is the deadline to avert that government shutdown unless the deadline is extended again. The latest version of the stimulus bill reportedly contains $300 extra in weekly unemployment and $600 checks, direct checks to workers, which is far less than what Bernie Sanders has been calling for. This week, AOC told The Intercept, technically the Intercepted podcast with Jeremy Scahill, but told The Intercept that Pelosi and Schumer need to go. But progressives have no real plan at this point for a replacement. It's actually a really good interview. It's worth kind of taking a peek at. Joe Biden has tapped Deb Holland to head the Department of the Interior. This is huge. She'll be the first Native American cabinet secretary in U.S. history. The appointment is especially meaningful because the Department of Interior has had a fraught relationship, that's putting it very kindly, with indigenous tribes since the founding of the country. Right? They've basically been, at the forefront, the tip of the spear of kind of ripping the land away from Native peoples. Biden has also appointed Michael Regan, no, not that Michael Regan, Michael Regan to be the first African-American to head the EPA. And an apparent Russian hack has penetrated more U.S. government and corporate systems than you can imagine. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, say that the hack began back in March. And the hack, quote, possesses a grave risk to the federal government. That's great, just ahead of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris taking office. The hack came to light only after a cybersecurity firm, FireEye, basically said that they had been hacked and its clients, including the U.S. government, was at risk. And Betsy DeVos urged the Department of Education career staffers to be the resistance against the Biden administration. According to Politico, Betsy DeVos, I can't even freaking say her name anymore. DeVos told them, quote, "Let me leave you with this plea. Resist. Be the resistance against forces that will derail you from doing what's right for students. And everything you do, please put students first, always." Department of Education staffers and teachers across the country reportedly spit coffee out their noses and fell off their chairs at the hilarity of the remarks. Proud Boys descended on D.C. last weekend. Yes, that was all last weekend. 4 people got stabbed and the little fascists tore down Black Lives Matter banners from black churches. There's our future, folks. Today's part 2. Defund the police, did you say? This isn't a laughing matter as the coronavirus is beginning to decimate police departments across the Commonwealth. Over 500 Philadelphia police officers have called out sick because of the virus in the last week. And Philly 911 dispatchers and union workers put the Philadelphia Police Department on blast for their unsafe working conditions during the pandemic. Over 30 dispatchers have contracted the virus, according to Billy Penn. Many of those cases have happened within the past month. The police department is using makeshift cardboard barriers. Can you freaking believe this shit? And some plastic barriers to keep workers separated during the latest outbreak. This is freaking third world shit, man. And at least 4 Philadelphia police officers have died of the virus. Blue Lives Matter, everybody? Anyone? Anyone? While this is happening in Philadelphia, there are rumors swirling around the mid-state that a handful of police departments in Cumberland County are non-operational due to the virus outbreak. Just in time for the holidays. On today's last call, yes, Monday, December 21st, that's the winter solstice, yes it is, but it will be the Great Conjunction. In the early evening, you'll be able to see Jupiter and Saturn come together in the sky. The 2 planets have not appeared this close together since 1623. Right? It's pretty cool, actually. My daughter and I have been going out looking at it each night, like just after sunset, so like say like 5:30, 6 o'clock. If you look off towards the west, right, they're getting lower and lower in the sky. You're gonna be able to see them actually tonight, tomorrow. They're kind of close to the moon in the evening, but they start kind of they're arcing across the sky and they're getting closer and closer each day. It's pretty freaking cool. They're the brightest object that you'll see close together towards the western sky in the evening. Anyways, Japan successfully retrieved first samples from an asteroid, the first ever samples from an asteroid, from the capsule Hayabusa 2 probe. The probe visited the asteroid known as Ryugu, I think, on December 6th, and the Japanese Space Agency just released pictures of the dark granular sample on their Twitter account. Yep, it came down in Australia, they picked it up, it's pretty freaking wild. And Space News announced their award winners this week. Of the winners, the Mars 2020 program won for the government mission of the year, and SpaceX Demo 2 won for commercial mission of the year. And Free Will Brewing has got some great releases once again. They're going back to their regular Saturday releases. You may have noticed this. They've been coming out releases during the week. They're going back to kind of a more regular schedule of Saturday releases. This week, this Saturday, you've got 2 that are coming out. Judo Refinancing, which is a hazy IPA with key limes and milk sugar. And you've got Corvus Ideas, an imperial stout with raspberry, chocolate, and milk sugar. I'll talk more about those in today's last call. And this is not a new release, but it is one of my favorite beers of the season. They also still have plenty of black currant chocolate mash available. That is a sour ale brewed with black currant puree, chocolate, and milk sugar. It is freaking awesome. Right? Want to remind you to tune into the Rick Smith Show on Free Speech TV this and every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can stream the show live at freespeech.org. You can also tune in the Dish Network, DirecTV, or through the Free Speech TV app on Roku. And make sure you subscribe to the Rick Smith Show's daily podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And I hope folks caught our Out the Coop Live this past week. I was talking with Paris Marks. Paris Marks is the creator and host of the Tech Won't Save Us podcast. We had a great, far-ranging conversation about big tech, about, say, the billionaire-backed plans to kind of wreck our economy through the gig economy. And yes, indeed, we talked about our freaking concerns about billionaire plans for space capitalism. So you can check that out in our regular podcast feed that was Out the Coop Live. That was this past Monday. And this coming Monday, we're going to do a kind of little pre-Christmas civility show. I've been teasing this for a bit. I think that instead of trying to kind of book a guest right before the holidays, I decided, so you know what, we're going to have our kind of discussion about civility for the holidays, right? So I've got an article that I published a couple years back on this kind of civility, and it kind of it came after basically the 2010 elections. When I was like flipping my shit over the way that people were calling for a return to civility after the Tea Party kind of won the kind of the midterm elections, and I was just livid at that point. And if you'll believe it, if you tune in, you'll see this is actually you won't believe that it's actually a toned down version of a paper I gave at a conference in Philadelphia before that, where literally people.
Is this let the tall man speak?
Basically, is it? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, that's the one where people in the audience were literally like with their mouths agape, right? They're like, I can't believe this is an academic. They're like, this is an academic conference. They're like, shit, this guy's calling for blood. No, but so tune in to that Out to Coop Live on Monday. I'm planning at this point to go at the 7 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. time slot. But if there's any changes out there, check out our Facebook page or Twitter, and I'll kind of let you know for there. And look, once again, our latest member, Nicholas, want to give him a shout out and a thank you. Nicholas joined at the $5 a month level. But you too, you can become a patron of Raging Chicken by going to patreon.com/rcpress. Because look, if we want a progressive future, we need progressive media. And you can help support Pull No Punches, homegrown progressive media today. Become a patron, again, little as $5 a month, folks, right? By going to patreon.com/rcpress and choose your membership level. If you don't want to become a member, you don't want to become a patron at this point, you can also kind of kick on over. You can see this at the bottom of our screen over there. If you're watching us on YouTube at this point. At the bottom of the screen, you also see a paypal.me/rcpress. That's paypal.me/rcpress. You can give us a contribution at any level over on PayPal. But look, the best way you can help support this work and expand this show is and help keep the media in the movement and the movement in the media is become a patron for as little as $5 a month by going to patreon.com/rcpress today. Sean, man, so here it is. We got Malcolm Kenyatta to start us off and take us into the new year. Our last show before the holidays in the year. Go ahead.
That clip was amazing of Kenyatta. I mean, like, just watching him just truck that guy. Hold on. Let me like, but no, like, I mean, like, it's been pretty fun watching everyone over the past month or two.
Yep.
You know, like, we've gotten to see a lot of great Pennsylvania personalities make it on MSNBC with Shapiro, Fetterman, Malcolm Kenyatta. I mean, pretty much like those three have just been like killing it. I mean, say what you want about Shapiro and his politics, but you know, he's been pretty good doing the TV shtick.
Look, we talked about that this week. Is like, look, this is something that you heard Sean and I talk about this before on the show. Where in Sam Cedar and the Majority Report has been making this point for a while, right? But basically, this kind of the idea that there's an ideological question about the fight within the Democratic Party, right? And there's that. But put that aside for a second, and let's just talk about the competence of doing politics, right? Just the brass tacks of like saying, we have a party and we stand for things and we're going to fight for them. And when the other side does things that are kind of like horrendous or horrible or hurt people,
destroying democracy,
right? You make them pay a price for it, right? And so if you put that second category there, that's what Josh Shapiro has basically been doing, right? So, Sean and I could talk to her kind of like, blue in the face about, ideological differences, some issues. We got some of the ways that, some of Shapiro's positions and things like this. But the guy's been doing politics at least. And that's better than you can say for the National Party, right, at the leadership position. And it's freaking good to see, I got to say.
Yeah. So I guess like one of the things I want to start off with that we didn't put in here, but the thing with Pelosi and Schumer and AOC.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about have you seen the dust up that happened this past week over the Medicare for All votes? And Jimmy Dore and
Yeah,
the dumb,
I purposely
left.
didn't put that in, but go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I'm
mean,
so
like,
freaking sick of Jimmy Dore. I can't even tell you.
well, like, this is just like the things. Like, yes, I agree that Pelosi and Schumer should go, but like forcing a meaningless vote on Medicare for all right now, like that will go nowhere and that will fail, will have a detrimental effect to your movement. Like,
I don't necessarily agree with that. Right? Okay, so
no, it'll have a detrimental effect to your movement. Yes, it will.
I don't.
You
I don't necessarily agree
bring
with that.
votes to the floor. You don't bring votes to the floor that you know are going to fail, because all you're doing is giving, unless you want to make the other side pay for those votes. Like, there is no benefit of bringing those votes to the floor, like right now, when it's 2 weeks left in a session or the waning days of a session. Like, okay, you want to get people on the record, look at the co-sponsor memo. Like, why bring up something that's going to fail by 300
All right,
votes?
so here
I could see if you're doing something I could see if you're doing a more ideological thing around the military votes that the military spending that happened, and the first time ever that's happened.
Right.
But like that's something you could build off of. We're still like we're not at the capacity yet to start demanding votes on Medicare.
Okay, this is my point. This is what I'm saying. Let me be clear. I disagree with that tactic of trying to force the vote right now for what you said at the end there, right? Where you started, what I was saying, I don't necessarily agree with that, was where you started. It's like there's no point in bringing that forward for a vote. I think there, in certain circumstances, there are, right, why you would do that, right? But kind of where you got to at the end of there, that's the point about why you don't bring it now, is because there's no plan. And this is why I thought AOC's interview with The Intercepted was so important, because she's like, look, it's clear Pelosi and Schumer need to go. But the fact of the matter is that, feel-good politics isn't going to work without a plan. Right? Yes, it will feel good to getting rid of Pelosi and Schumer, but unless there's a plan behind it about why you're doing it.
Like, who's the alternative, like, for Pelosi? Like, someone who's going to be considerably worse than her. Like, I think, like, they can get more done holding Pelosi hostage over committee positions and spots within power within the caucus, like with it leveraging power within the caucus, and versus like having one vote. Like, I think if you're going to waste that political capital, I think you expend that on either you give us these positions or we just won't vote for you for speaker.
That I think is the smarter way to go. Absolutely, 100% agree with you on that point, because it's like, look, have something that's putting people in meaningful positions rather than being here. And look, the Medicare vote, this is where I'm saying the Medicare for all vote, right? If, say, for example, there had been some clear organizing that had been going on like for a while, there's been a push to get people into particular positions, and there was a public fight over Medicare for all, right? Even if it was not, or not even say a public fight, if there was increasing positions or pushes from the public, and there were social movements that were involved pushing for it, and Nancy Pelosi and some leaderships in the Democratic Party refused to bring that vote forward, then you can push for it, because it's part of a strategy and part of a plan built with social movements, right? But to do it just for the feel-gooderisms, that doesn't do it. Yeah. And this is why the Jimmy Dore stuff just bothered me so much this week. It's just because it was just like, I mean, yes, the guy is a complete freaking grifter, right? The guy is like, he doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself, and kind of
and his accelerationism about Trump.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like accelerationism that's proven to be wrong 1,000 times over, right? So whatever. The guy, and he dupes a lot of folks on the left, right? I mean, because he talks a certain talk. But what his talk is some of the most difficult to deal with on the left, right? This is something, again, my entire life, in any social movement, in any political organization, there's always been a faction that has been about kind of like, the purists.
Personalities.
Well, no, but the purist, that you're going to have this absolute, like, everything has to be this kind of like perfect. And if you don't if you're not an absolute purist, right? If you don't follow the demagogue, then you're kind of less than that. You're proving yourself to be a kind of false idol or something like this. And it's always that shit. It's the poser bullshit. And it's like you get this over and over and over again. With someone like Jimmy Dore, where that becomes problematic is because he's got a big platform.
Yeah.
Right? And he's basically saying no. Unless somebody's perfect, unless somebody is actually perfect ideologically and their votes are 100% in this direction, barring any strategy, forget it. we're not going to support them. And worse, we're going to go after them. Because this all started with him going right after AOC. Right? Started going after AOC and say, you show your true colors that you're, whatever. And it's just like, this is wasted energy. And it's toxic, especially when you're talking about the online communities, right? Because that's where he has any kind of weight is there. The YouTube communities, the online communities, Twitter. But man, whatever. Jimmy Dore can go have himself a Merry Christmas. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say.
Speaking of Merry Christmas. I'm sorry, kids, you're not getting your presents.
yeah, exactly. Well, first let me talk about the vaccine. Let's talk about the vaccine real quick, and then we'll get to the presents. Because this is the bigger story. That's a big deal, right? That we've got the vaccines finally came out this week, and I'm thrilled to see it. And I was also thrilled to see that there was some smart thinking in some folks when they were kind of showing the vaccine, who gets the vaccine first, right? That they really focused on kind of African American communities, and kind of Latino communities, and healthcare workers and things, in addition to kind of some elderly folks, because at least the polls have been coming out is that you have some of the strongest resistance in some way or skepticism about the vaccines in those communities, right? And there's real historical reasons for that, right? And if you have a history of kind of the United States government experimenting on you, right, with its shots and with its vaccines, right, and that's been part of the history that you've learned. Of course, you're going to be a little bit more skeptical. So all the more reason to put that out front, and also make it clear that those communities who've been hit the hardest are going to be prioritized in the rollout.
I also think, I don't want to get struck by fucking lightning right now saying this. But, I also think it's responsible for Pence, his wife, Mitch McConnell, and others to get vaccinated, because there is a strong community within the right wing that push anti-vaxxer stuff. We've seen it here grown into Pennsylvania. We've seen them, ingrain themselves with the misfits of the alt-right and the conservatives over the past couple of years. And it's like, we need to get as many people as vaccinated as possible.
Absolutely.
The end's in sight. I mean, like, one of the things I know we're talking about, like, I think this is like, if my family gets vaccinated by the summer, both rounds by the summer, we're going on vacation. Like, I think like it's going to be, I feel like at that point, like once we start hitting that mass of people getting vaccinated, it's, I think you're going to start seeing stuff ease. Like, you know what I mean?
Look, that's the hope, right? I mean, and I think that all the indications are that that's where we're headed. I
mean, like, the end is in sight. It might be 5 or 6 months away, but we're here. Like, you know what I mean? After 9 months, we're almost getting there, which is great. And
right, and I think that this is like the time. This is the difficult. This is why that thing by Malcolm Kenyatta up front about like how many kind of like grown men and women are kind of like twisting themselves in knots to try to like appease the foo-foos of the president, right? Is that the problem with that? It's like you got such a contradiction on with these people like these on the far right. They keep saying, yeah, you got to stand up, you got to be strong, the whole like Hawkinson thing at Kutztown, grit and fortitude, and yet when it comes to actually having grit and fortitude to like, we're gonna hunker down. We're going to wait for the vaccine. We're going to do what's right. Yes, it sucks.
And that's
yes,
grit and fortitude.
Hard. But you know what? That's grit and fortitude. Is knowing full well that that the virus is real. It's killing over 3,000 people per day, right? And the only way that we're going to stop it is that we make sure that we hunker down now as the vaccine rolls out so we can go back to it. That's what you call, like, that's what, keep calm and carry on, like the whole like the British slogan, right? That was what they did during World War II, right? The idea that you hunker down, you keep on going forward, you do this, you recognize it's hard, it's going to be a struggle, there's going to be some sacrifice, but in the end, you're doing it for the victory over the virus. I hate framing things in war language, but I mean, that's what they like. So can't we just do that?
Or Catholic guilt.
Or Catholic guilt, for that matter.
Yeah. No, I mean, like,
God will send you to hell if you go outside. How about that? I mean, that's it.
No, but I mean, like, I was in the scouting and everything. We had this, within the Boy Scouts, we had a thing called the Order of the Arrow, which is like a society within the Scouts. You get elected to it, and to do it, you have to go through your ordeal, which is like 2 days of complete silence. not saying anything and doing labor and doing this is almost like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like it is an ordeal. This is exactly what this is. Like it is. No, we just have to it's sacrifice. And I mean, coming out of this, you know, we got some fucking work to do. Like,
do we ever, man?
I mean, it's.
I mean, if you think about for years, the right wing, what the right wing had always said was like, you know, there was always this claim about, say, liberal parents and all this other kinds of stuff because they didn't teach their kids about, you know, delayed gratification. This was like their big deal for the longest time. Right. And they said that, you know, what the middle class could do and upstander citizens could do is they don't have to respond to every whim. Right. They're kind of like to say, you know, impulse buy. No, you teach them to save their money, to work hard so that they work for this future. Right. You may suffer now, but you have that delayed gratification in the end. Because you had all this stuff in sociology and social psychology and everything like this for years that the right championed. And yet here we are. Right. And what they're arguing for is basically, I want to do what I want to do anytime. Me. And it's the worst, most self-freaking destructive, tendency possible, right? The idea is look.
I know we're still seeing this now, with the winter. I have, there are restaurants now. The new thing to get around these indoor dining rules are put these tents up with fucking yurts or enclosed tents and calling it outdoor dining, or these little cubes, these little domes and stuff like that. It's no, it's amazing to me how far business owners are going, especially restaurant owners are going, to put their restaurant workers in harm's way in order to milk how much money they can get out of a fucking stone right now.
Yeah.
In order to do this.
But we got to qualify this by saying this. I agree with you, right? I agree with you, but at the same time, is we got to remember what got us here. The only reason we're having to deal with this, and let's
because we have an incompetent federal government.
Exactly, because this is what we talked about last week too, as well. Is when I was talking about this brewery up in Bethlehem, right? Is that the Seven Sirens Brewery, right? Was made the same kind of decision to defy the kind of the state orders and to remain open. Let's remember that if every other kind of country that has the resources like we do, right? What they have done is they said that we recognize there's a plan and we have to kind of close down because of the virus. And because we have to close down, we know there's going to be impact on business owners and people who work for those places. So what do? That we replace their income, right, while we're asking them to close down. And it's been planned. And so when that happens, when the shutdown, my friend Stu over in Northern Ireland just kind of texted me this morning, basically saying that, they've got their third basically lockdown. Right, in Northern Ireland right now. And you have a plan. You move forward in order to kind of replace that income. You do this stuff, right? This is what other people do. What we've done here instead is said, nope, federal government's going to do nothing to kind of replace income. It's going to do nothing to kind of
die for the economy has been the official response.
That's exactly.
We've go out and die for the economy.
So, but look. So I have to admit, I have kind of mixed feelings about those moves by those restaurants that try to open up and do this kind of stuff, because it's if I take the politics out of it, right? If I take the politics out of it, because we know there's some business owners who are just freaking Trumpers and are freaking horrible human beings, and that they're going to go out there, that all they give a shit about is the money. They don't even care about their workers. Right? For example, we go over in Cork and Fork, and we know they've been organizing, right? They've been organizing kind of a union as a part of this stuff. And Cork and Fork is one of the freaking restaurants that's out there putting those domes.
And Cork and Fork is owned by a bunch of lobbyists,
exactly,
who have been pushing the absolute worst responses during this. Also, what's funny about Cork and Fork that happened this week? One of the owners of Cork and Fork, who really loves me on Twitter and all. One of my best friends on Twitter, actually. Hope this finds you, Dave. He showed up to a school board meeting on some day last week that a bunch of people were at, and I had people messaging me about Dave chastising teachers at this fucking school board meeting, basically saying that teachers aren't medical experts, and basically went on this rant why Camp Hill School District should be open. And then said, we're your constituents, not the teachers. So Dave is doing this while his children go to really good public schools on the West Shore of Harrisburg. But Dave is also one of the top lobbyists for some of the worst fucking cyber charter schools in the state. And on top of that, he was chastising Lebanon County for spending $3 million in a marketing campaign to get people to wear their masks, because Lebanon County was an outbreak early on. They have meatpacking plants in Lebanon County. There's a big Hispanic population that works in those meatpacking plants. So like there was now this is spending $3 million. He was criticizing that mask wearing campaign while he came up with his own mask wearing campaign for Camp Hill school students to fucking sit in class with their masks on, thinking that will stop the spread.
Right. Because he's a medical expert.
Yes.
Unlike the teachers.
Yes, unlike the teachers.
But this is a perfect example, right?
But
sorry.
And then also you have people like Zaborny, who owns Cork, who's also part owner of Cork and Fork, who helps getting all these Republicans elected into office, that's pushing this horrible response. Like, you have a conglomerate of some of the worst lobbyists, like, that run these restaurants, and this is just like a factor of it. Like, I mean, like, but like, and at that point, it's just like you're putting my friends at risk. You're putting like workers in harm's way, and like literally, Cork and Fork has been holding massive fucking fundraisers for the Republican Party this whole entire fucking fall and winter.
Right. Like going
up into the election. So it's not even like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no. So exactly. But here's my bigger point. So like we have places like that, which they clearly don't give a shit about anybody. Right. And the virus, they're basically effectively denying that the virus exists. And they're effectively saying that, no, hey, we're going to do the herd immunity crap. So there's those folks out there we know just are bad actors. But it's absolutely critical to also remember that let's just flip it around a little. Let's imagine that we've got like the flip side of that, right? So that's somebody who's a lobbyist, say for progressive causes, does all sorts of good stuff, and then also owns a restaurant, right? They are put in a nearly like untenable situation, right? When it comes to their business, and for the workers who are there, they're also put in a situation where they've got no safety net, right? And so you get people pitted against people. It's Survivor, so and it's like you're gonna roll your dice. You're gonna roll the dice about like what are you willing to take a chance at? Are you willing to take a chance on being out of work for a long time and trying to piece together something online, right? You're gonna start an About Fans account so that you could try to kind of make ends meet.
Yeah, like how about that fucking story over the weekend?
Exactly.
I mean, like, yeah, like talk about like doxing a woman or having OnlyFans. Yeah, I mean, like, you want to talk about like, and then like, yeah, I mean,
that freaking paramedic, just, I mean, whatever. I mean, it's like,
and it's like what Strobel said and a bunch of others. The real like issue here is that like medical people aren't making enough fucking money.
Exactly.
Like,
the fact is that it's like
healthcare workers, frontline workers, still to this day don't have a $15 minimum wage. Still don't have paid sick leave.
Exactly.
Like, we're 9 months into a fucking pandemic, and paid sick leave has not been mentioned once. I don't even think like the Democrats have brought this up at all. Like, which is just like, I mean, like, people have a megaphone, and that's like the biggest problem about this whole entire pandemic.
Exactly, 100%.
Like, Democrats have a fucking megaphone, and no one's been using it.
That's exactly it.
And instead, we wanted to play nice with Pelosi, wants to play nice with the Republicans, and like now, like, she should have taken the fucking stimulus deal before the election. End of story.
Yeah, way end.
Now we're getting held up a worse deal, a worse negotiating point.
And let's just be clear: the only reason we're even getting any checks, right? Any checks at all, is because freaking Bernie Sanders. What's the guy? There's a Republican guy too as well, who joined.
Inhofe or no?
What's that?
Was it Inhofe?
I don't remember.
No,
that doesn't sound right. But there's Bernie Sanders joined with a Republican, basically calling. No, you have to send out stimulus checks. You have to send these checks out. You have to give people these things, right? And Bernie Sanders threatened basically, no, look, unless you get like, $1,200 checks out. I think he called for like monthly,
2,000
or weekly or something like this. Unless those checks go out, we're staying through Christmas. right? We're not gonna disband, and that's the only reason. That pressure is the only reason. And I don't mean it's not just Bernie Sanders. I'm saying it's Bernie Sanders and people who've been pushing for this, right? That's the only reason that's even in that bill. And it just, thank God, right, that Pelosi couldn't have closed the deal before then, right? Pelosi and Schumer. Thank God for that. Because that'll at least allow enough time to put pressure to kind of force this deal. And then you think about it. You got the holidays here. Like, what a better time to put the maximum amount of pressure upon Mitch McConnell to make him the Scrooge. Come on. There's a story about this. It's called The Christmas Carol. Dickens wrote about this. You can use that narrative that everybody knows and put Mitch McConnell
and it's
coming
amazing
to be visited. You know, I mean, I guess Bernie Sanders would be like Marley, right?
It does amaze me how Democrats refuse to make Mitch McConnell the villain.
It's unbelievable. He looks like a villain. I mean, I'll just start there. I mean, he looks like a villain, so, or a turtle,
yeah.
But one or the other. But, well, good thing at least, you know, at least it would bring us the Christmas cheer. Will be the lack of presents under our trees this year, right, Sean?
Yeah, so I guess I have my own story with this.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I bought a pair of Stan Smiths a couple weeks ago on Black Friday. Got them on sale, $60 instead of $100 from Adidas. You know, up in that wardrobe a bit. But no, like
Sean's becoming an Adidas influencer, by the way, if you haven't noticed.
So I'm actually wearing my blue Adidas joggers right now. Not gonna lie.
Adidas. Yeah. I had my hoodie on earlier.
So my one friend I was getting stuff the other day. She goes, you know, she's like, Sean, it's very Eastern European of you. With your,
it's true. That's true.
But no, like, but no, I've been watching this tracking as like, yeah, just shit posting. Like, yeah, I guess I'm not getting my shoes for Christmas. And
because remember, everybody, like the Christmas spirit is about what you get for yourself. Just want you to remember that.
Exactly.
And if there's something out there that interferes with you getting yours.
Well, like, so thankfully, like, I had my parents do my fucking shopping for me.
Mama!
So, well, no, I mean, like, getting stuff for my niece, nephew. They're like, I picked out the toys and all, and like, she got them delivered to the house instead of like having me doing it because of the car and all. But yeah, so. But no, I mean, like, it's just amazing. Like, who could have thought this would have happened? With, you know, the post office that, you know, destroying the fucking sorting machines and Christmas. Handicapping the fucking postal service would have done this. Who did you really think this would have happened?
I did. Unlike you, I did not have my mommy do my shopping for me. But also, I also thought about this. The election, I'm like, oh shit, you know what? This is like back in October. I was like back in like you know what? They're screwing up the postal service for the election. If we're thinking at all about kind of like, you know, gifts to give for people, we better do it now, because it's gonna as soon as the holiday rush comes, forget about it. It's gonna be insane. I mean, there's literally some things that I ordered right in the beginning of October that arrived yesterday.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Holy shit.
And so it's like, I was like, you know, I'm looking at, I'm like the tracking number. I'm like, come on. And it's clear. It went through some facility, right? That it just sat there for like weeks, right? So they must have been so backed up with all this stuff. And then, you know, who knows, it's easy. You get it all backed up. It's easy to kind of like stack things on top and take from the top or whatever. Who knows what happened, but you know, it got here, right? USPS, thank you. Right, yeah. Despite all that got here. But I mean, this is what happens. And so the irony of the whole thing, right, is like you got the right wing always saying that, you know, the left has got a war on Christmas. Right? They're the ones who did it. Right? Like theirs is all about ideological stuff, but their war on Christmas was a material one. It's to screw up the ability of the Postal Service and other mail carriers for that matter.
And it's it's not just the Postal Service right now. Like Amazon Prime is backed up like a week, 2 weeks. You know, USP or UPS and FedEx and all are backed up.
Yeah, because what happened, right? Because the Postal Service, everything is backed up, So then that affects everything else. Because remember, the Postal Service
It's the last mile
delivers
carrier.
the UPS and the FedEx packages like the final mile where those folks don't deliver. Right? So that could, and then people are like, oh man, the post office is backed up, so they switch over to carriers. And on top of that, right, who did they contract with? Who did the Pfizer contract with in order to kind of deliver all the vaccines? UPS and FedEx. Right? If we had a competent federal government, maybe the Postal Service could have been marshaled, right? to make sure that you had extra drivers kind of ready to go to kind of deliver this stuff, right? Alongside every other carrier.
You know, at least
whatever.
like, you know, Trump had the opportunity to buy a couple 100 million more vaccines and passed up on that back in the fucking, again, this is something else we didn't talk about.
Yeah, no shit. I mean, it's like there's so much going on.
The fucking herd immunity stuff with Caputo this week.
Oh, that's
and
right. That's right.
Let them get sick. Let them get sick.
Yep.
That there has to be criminal investigations after this.
Totally.
Someone was like, you know, saying, you know, it's not right to demand investigations from an incoming administration. Bullshit. Fucking that should be one of the first top things Biden's administration does is Department of Justice.
Yep.
Is investigate the fuck out of what happened. Like there are people who need to go to
it
jail.
should be like a 9/11 commission. Seriously. Full investigation, full commission kind of about what the hell happened. Right? But unlike other commissions, just be able to say, okay, here's all the evidence. Prosecutors can go after on any of this stuff, but we're going to find out what's
and then
going on.
also have the game plan for anything like this in the future.
Yes, exactly.
Like, if we don't look back and we don't reevaluate and we don't hold people accountable, this will fail in the going forward.
Yeah, I mean, because like we've said 1,000 times over, is like, you know, as horrible as the coronavirus is right now, there's potential worse stuff coming because of climate change. And if we don't get this shit done now, right, we're going to see a repeat of this, like, God forbid, in like kind of a worse virus coming forward. My kid tells me every day about kind of new viruses that are being discovered around the world, right? It's like, because, you know, this is his life now. But
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about what your take was on Pat Toomey this week, his reappearance after people kind of said like, hey, look, maybe he is a statesman after all.
He's just a friendly fascist. He's not a full-out fascist.
Yeah. So as long as
I think that's pretty much it.
As long as he's nice, then we can do it. As long as he, you know, comes out and says the right thing once in a while, that's all right.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't believe when I read it's like that Toomey, right? After getting all these accolades for kind of acknowledging stuff, now he's the one that's going to come out and is going to stand in the way, right, of money getting to people who need it. Which is well, first of all, it's par for the course. I mean, let's be clear, right? This is not unusual for Toomey, right?
This is who he's always been.
This is the way he's always been. It's just kind of like there is something kind of a little bit sweet about this to kind of make sure that as he's going out, that this is going to be one of his final acts to remember by, to try to kind of like make people poor and hurt people. That's his Christmas spirit. Right? Crazy. Big news this week. Deb Holland. Oh, well, yeah, Deb. I didn't put that in, did I? I couldn't write it for some reason. My hands would not do it.
There's a disconnect between the brain and your hands.
Seriously, I meant to say that. Yeah, but these appointments were balanced by Department of Transportation. But yeah, so Joe Biden tapped Deb Holland to the head Department of the Interior. I mean, like, this is freaking huge. This is huge. The first ever Native American cabinet secretary in U.S. history. But to have her placed at the Department of the Interior is amazing. Because remember, the Department of the Interior has been the place where lands have been ripped away, right? Where there's been uranium mining that has been kind of like taking place without the necessary protections on native lands.
Lead bullets going back into the fucking national parks and, you know, letting people like putting lead back into the fucking ecosystem, which is just which is absolutely horrible.
And you know, in many ways, the people who've bore the brunt of these policies, right, these pro-corporate extractivist policies in the past, have been kind of American Indians, Native peoples, right? The reservations have been places that have been targeted by these folks for years, and the violations of treaties that has taken place as part of the kind of like the push to kind of extract more, the push for commerce and capitalism. To have Deb Holland, and this should be said too as well, it was reported at least that Deb Holland was not Biden's first pick, right? It was somebody else. It was actually the kind of the heads of different tribes came together. No, we want Holland. Right, we understand that you've got your kind of like, you know, like Obama-friendly kind of like guy over there, but we don't want that person. We want Deb Holland. And to Biden's credit, that's where they went to. And I think, once again, this is about pressure, right? This was about, everything was going, look, Biden's, if you look at what's happening, anytime that there hasn't been pressure, what we're left with is kind of like, you know, well, who was there under Obama? Well, we'll bring that person back, right? Or who's been kind of friendly to the centrist of the party. The other good appointment was Michael Regan, not the one from Pennsylvania, not the one that Shannon Danielson shamed and kind of prevented his future career as a potential gubernatorial candidate. Not that one, but African-American head of the EPA, Michael Regan, will be appointed there too as well. Again, the first time an African-American has ever headed that agency. That's a big deal. But you got to balance that out with the kind of corporate shills from McKinsey. So Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah. So, what did you think about this argument about people, liberal elitism, attacking Pete Buttigieg's resume for working at McKinsey right out of college to pay down student debt? Because I've had some people attack me on this for saying, "Why are you? It's unfair to attack McKinsey or Pete Buttigieg's job at McKinsey because he took that job coming out of like university."
No, look, wait. Let me say this. I could
like this is, to me, this is like a moral choice. Like you have the opportunity to work at these places. Like if you choose to work at McKinsey, like odds are you're going in with a full head of steam, knowing what McKinsey is.
I don't know. I don't know if you can count on that though coming out of college though. I don't know if that's a fair approximation about what college students know coming out of college about the history of McKinsey and things like this. I mean, I mean, when I was in college in political science, right? Well, who knows?
It seems like McKinsey's more of a recent phenomenon.
That's what I mean. Like, I'm saying, I'm just thinking about, okay.
Like to me, it's like almost like going to work for the World Bank or the WTO at this point.
Even that though, I'm telling you, if you come out unless you are politically engaged, like on the left, right, you're really not aware of that stuff. I mean, I remember. Here's my take on this. Right, I get what you're saying, and if I'm going to give anybody slack, right, or if I'm going to give Buttigieg slack on that, I'm not necessarily going to give
an apologist. I'm joking.
Yeah, I'm a Buttigieg apologist apparently. I'll get shit for this too as well, but whatever. I don't care. I understand that. I understand why you might take a job in there, especially if you're kind of like an ambitious kind of like political animal, and then everyone's steering you in that direction, and all the kind of like, I mean, look, the kind of like propaganda that people hear about McKinsey, right? Especially if they're kind of like, you know, like go-getters in undergraduate and political science and this kind of stuff. McKinsey is a place to go, right? And other people come to McKinsey and talk, it sounds all good and all this kind of stuff. And you don't necessarily learn that history until you actually dig deep. Where I have the problem is what you do once you do know these things, right? Because now Pete Buttigieg cannot say, there's nobody, he cannot use that argument. Well, I didn't know, I don't know, they do bad things. No, because everybody has told him, McKinsey has been exposed for what it does. And so now you have the moral choice about understanding what you look back on. Right, and if you're going to try to justify that time there and we did lots of good, then that's the problem, and that's what Buttigieg has done. Right, I mean, Buttigieg has not gone back and basically said, you know what, these firms prey on kind of like, you know, like on high-powered like graduates. They prey on political science programs. They prey on people that want to get involved with politics in order to serve these other ends. Right, that's how you rectify that. So you come out of college, you could claim a certain degree of ignorance. I don't know. I don't know well enough about how conscious he was of what McKinsey does at that point. If he was fully conscious, then yeah, then that bets off. But I'm willing to give that little wiggle room. But how you retell the story is important.
And one of the things putting the McKinsey stuff aside, my biggest issue with this Buttigieg thing is his complete lack of experience with this. Like, you're running the state's transportation stuff now, and you come from South Bend, which is a glorified college town 9 months out of the year. Like I feel like this opens up the opportunity to bring in vultures and bring in people who want to prey upon privatizing the government, breaking apart Amtrak, like selling off highways and stuff like that. Like this is where I think
this is
breaking
why unions have been pushed back so much against this guy.
Breaking unions, someone who has no experience in contract negotiations. Like you might be seeing the first illegal air traffic controller strike in years because their contracts are up. Like, I think this really, I think this sets him up for failure more than anything else. Like, if he fucks this up, I mean, like, and goes, like, I feel like the privatization wing of the Democratic Party is shrinking still. Like, you know what I mean? I think that is, like, I feel like the 2008 debacle with Ed Rendell trying to sell the Turnpike to a Spanish company, like, that stuff isn't happening anymore within the Democratic Party. Like, I think we are way beyond that. But I feel like Buttigieg is someone who's still trapped in that mindset. And I think he could do a lot of damage to this country's infrastructure, especially if like Lyft and Uber lobbyists get in versus like prioritizing public transportation.
Well, he was also very Uber friendly when he was in South Bend.
Yeah. Versus like, no, we need to be investing in actual, we can't have Uber or Lyft become our fucking public transit systems. Like that just is not going to work. That will add to the climate crisis. That will make things worse. And we need to rein these companies in. Yeah. And have a competent like public transportation system across the country. We need to be expanding Amtrak and rail and stuff like that. And like the people who will most likely try to get into this transportation secretary or this position with him are, like people who probably support are going to be like corporate lobbyists for these organizations.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
And like, we're really going to fight transportation policy over the next couple of years because transportation policy does a lot to fight global warming.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like contributes to global warming. Like a bad transportation policy will add to the adverse effects of climate change.
Yep.
And I think it's baffling that we have someone who's completely inexperienced in this field. There are 50 Department of Transportation secretaries across the country, in their respective states. I think someone like Leslie Richards in Pennsylvania is very competent for the job. She, was a county commissioner in Montgomery County. She got appointed to the state's Department of Transportation secretary. Has been making inroads in the state. Like, we needed someone like that. No splash. I think he should have gone somewhere else. I don't know where, but I don't think like Department of Transportation should have been the spot he got.
No, I mean, my one hope for it is that because he is so politically ambitious, that he's always got his finger in the wind to kind of like say which way the political winds are blowing, right? And then he wants to stake himself a little bit kind of, a little bit to the moderate end of that, right? To kind of give him this like air of progressivism, but then kind of like the reasonableness of it. If there's enough push, right? Especially if we get a strong climate policy coming out of this, I think he's going to be a follower, not a leader on that. But I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, I think that his ambition could be used against the worst tendencies that he has. So we shall see. I mean, that's going to be. That's really going to be the pressure that we put on him.
I mean, at least it wasn't Rahm Emanuel.
Thank God. Thank God.
Like, it's kind of amazing seeing Rahm Emanuel get shut out of this administration, pretty much. Yeah, he got an ambassadorship, but like, it's amazing how he still made himself politically relevant after covering up the murder of Laquan McDonald.
It's astounding.
Like, it's fucking embarrassing that this guy's still even in like a name in the party.
Yep. Well, like, it's because he's attached to Obama. I mean, seriously, it's like that's the history.
And Bill Clinton and stuff like that.
It's disgusting, but whatever. I don't think I need to say anything more about the Betsy DeVos stuff. I just love that.
I think it's laughable.
I just think it's hilarious. I think it's so freaking hilarious.
I think the people she's talking to are probably the people who want her out the most.
Can you imagine that room? I can imagine the room being them sitting there being like trying to like
golf clap.
like I don't know if she did it like
It's
I don't know
like
if it was just an email or if it was like
Michael
a Zoom call,
Scott
whatever.
from The Office. Was this like a Dunder Mifflin joke?
Well, people having to turn away to prevent themselves from laughing in her face, right? I mean, like, really? You think we're going to do that for you? Do you know what we do here? You still don't know what we do here, do you?
After
and how
4
much
years.
we hate you, right? I mean, that's like, God, it's crazy. But and so we should say close out before we go to break. Man, that last week in DC was not good. Where you had these kind of Proud Boy riots that came out, and there were kind of 4 people that were stabbed. And you saw them kind of go after black churches, destroying black church property, and basically setting us up for what has the potential to be a really bad few years ahead.
I hope that like their numbers are small, and like these instances that happen in DC only happen because they're quote unquote like show of force, like them flocking to DC and doing this. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Right. Like, hopefully, like once this disperses and goes out, they don't have that much of an influence, right, within local politics.
Yeah.
Right. But the Republican Party has a choice to make. This is who this is who Trump stoked up for 4 years, and you're going to deal with this.
Yep.
Like, do you want to keep on playing the worst fascistic tendencies of this country, of these people, and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yep.
And
exactly.
it's just like no, I mean, like, Trumpism isn't going away. These people aren't going away. We have to still continue to
Newsmax is
organize.
not going away.
Yeah. Like, and yeah. So we'll see.
Crazy, everybody. So let's hope that those folks just go under their rocks. We'll say for that. Anyways, this is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. We're going to take a quick break, and after the break, we'll come back, talk about some little things happening here in PA. I want to remind you to become a patron of Raging Chicken by going to patreon.com/rcpress. You become a patron for as little as $5 a month. You can also give us a one-time gift in any amount by going to paypal.me/rcpress, paypal.me/rcpress, and drop us a one-time donation. It's Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. We'll be back right after this message. We are back. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken, here once again with Sean Kitchen. Sean, it was apparently blue lives don't matter so much when it comes down to what's going on in Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, talk about like defunding the police and how long Democrats have fought with each other over defunding the police message and that cudgel was used and going after progressives. But no, I mean, like, it's like, to be on a serious point though, the Philadelphia Police Department's on the brink of collapsing because of the coronavirus. Over 500 police officers have called out sick within the past week. That number is probably growing. That article that's in our notes is almost a week old, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's more going out there. The Philly dispatchers union and the union workers there and the leaders have gone after the Philadelphia police for unsafe working conditions during this pandemic. 30 dispatchers have contracted the virus, and they're using cardboard dividers.
That's astounding to me. That is astounding to me.
Like cardboard dividers to socially distance, quote unquote. And then we also had 4 police officers die within the city. And that's just not within the city. That's only getting reported on. I've heard rumors out here in Harrisburg that in Cumberland County there are multiple police departments that are inactive right now because these departments are like 10 or 15 people and they all got sick. And pretty much like departments are asking each other for help, and the cops are saying no because you're not following the guidelines,
right? And
your whole entire department's sick, and we're not risking our personnel. I mean, it's just amazing. If you've seen photos, you've seen pictures, you've seen videos over the past so many months, police officers are the only people who haven't been wearing masks pretty much as a aggregate force on the streets. They think it's beneath them. I don't know why, but like they're right wingers, they're Trumpers, and like it's just fucking ridiculous that this is completely preventable. And now your like police department within a major American city is on the brink of collapse because of incompetence.
It's incredible. It's really incredible. I mean, it's just the kind of thing just makes you like, Jesus Christ, really? It's like, it doesn't have to be this way, but it is.
And also, like, it makes you wonder, like, what other professions have this many people calling out sick right now who have to show up to work? But like, you know what I mean?
I'm telling you, but it is happening. It is happening in medical offices. It is starting to happen in hospitals and long-term care facilities. I mean, where you hear stories all the time now, right? The people I talk to, it's like that they're down staffed, or they're whether whether it's like the staff themselves actually has COVID, or if it's their family who got it, so then therefore they have to quarantine in their home, which actually means that you can't come into work. I mean, that's happening all over the place. But I mean, I think the point there is what exactly what you're saying, is that you've got this kind of ideological component over top of it, which is making things that much worse. Right? I was thinking, like, we're not going to wear a mask or all this stuff, or they're just in situations where they're going to come in contact with kind of more groups of people, and unless you've got a kind of a firm commitment to kind of like social distancing and PPE and all that kind of stuff, this is what's going to happen.
There was a video on Reddit this week that made it in a couple of subs, especially in the Pennsylvania subreddit. This young woman got pulled over by a cop, female cop. She had her phone going, like sitting on the center console in like a selfie mode, looking at her while she was speaking to the cop. And she was talking to the cop. She asked the cop, how come she's not wearing a mask? She's like, I want to know why you're not wearing a mask. And the cop got flustered and started like pretty much getting angry, and nothing happened, like escalated, but she got flustered and started explaining the ticket and just completely glossed over that. The woman pulled her cell phone out from the center console, showed the cop that she was recording, and she said, I want to know why you're not wearing a mask. Like, that's just like...
And she wouldn't address it.
Yeah, and the cop just left. I mean, but like doing stuff like that can actually lead to retribution. like from the police and stuff like that. But, like, good on this woman for putting this cop on blast. But, like, you know, you have this happening. There are outbreaks in jails right now. In Philadelphia today, they released all of the hotel homeless people from the hotels in the city and sent them to different locations that are run by private prison companies.
Oh God!
You know, because CARES money ran out. Like, it's like amazing. Like, absolutely, like, you as a government, city government, you can't just say we'll write an IOU. Like, bill us later on. Like keep this going. We're like, you can't, like, as a city official, work something out with these hotel companies, saying like, here's an IOU, bill us at a later date.
Right.
We'll figure this out.
This is exactly the issue why, you know, in this stimulus bill, this relief package that is being negotiated at the federal level, while the getting money for state and local governments is absolutely so critical, right? Because unlike the state governments, they can't, like, the state governments can't deficit spend, right? Like they can, like, at the federal level, right? They don't have the ability or, like, to print more money, right? In a way that they do with the federal government. But you're right. I mean, you'd think that there would be every push in the world to basically go out and kind of work something out in order to kind of maintain these stuff. But here we are.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man. That's crazy. Well, I'm slightly more kind of uplifting note on that one. Last night, I forgot to put this in the notes, but KU Activists, which is a Kutztown University student activist group, who've been doing bang up work about the university's response plan. They've occupied the office of the president a couple times. They've put together, all sorts of surveys. They've been organizing students. We had a town hall last night, which I was kind of was good enough. They were good enough to ask me if I'd be willing to kind of help moderate the town hall, and I was doing that yesterday evening with KU student activists and the Healthy Campus Bill of Rights folks. And this KU student activists have got this amazing set of demands that they're pushing for at the university level, but now going to the statewide level. Directly to Chancellor Greenstein, right? Because there's been such, like, lack of response. And initially, this was supposed to be a town hall that they invited the chancellor to come, but the chancellor said, "I have every bit of confidence in President Kenneth Hawkinson. He's been doing a bang up job." So they held this with the empty chair. But it was really about an opportunity for them to showcase this, and it was really fascinating about what they were doing in this list of demands, right, about the return, because Kutztown University just released its spring plan to go back, and it's basically more of the same, grit and fortitude. And the first item on their list of demands, right, is about food service workers, right, and staff at the university. Not about students, but about those food service workers, right? Those folks that are kind of like, not a lot. And remember, we've talked about this before on the show, is that food service workers at Kutztown University are one of the few groups of workers on campus that do not get paid sick leave, right? And we know there's been several workers who've been forced or have been pressured, let's say, to work even though they've reported symptoms, right? We know that there's been some people who've lost their positions or been told not to return because they've decided to tell the truth that they were not feeling well. And what the university has told students who have brought this up, or faculty members who have brought this forward, they've been, go talk to Aramark about it, because Aramark is the outside contractor. Not our problem. Go tell Aramark. So that's how these things get handled, right? So I bring that up now because it was a really good town hall, and there's a group of the students that we're going to have on Out to Coop Live, probably kind of in the week, either the week leading up to the return to campus, right, or that first week of return to campus. Something to look out for. Just as another example, some just amazing kind of student activism that's going on there, and just really kind of taking the ball and running it, and just hearing these students talk about their kind of organizing is just kind of really, really tremendous. So look forward to that. Anything else you got going around in the state, Sean?
Not a whole lot. So I wasn't out on Monday, but the Electoral College met. We didn't even talk about this.
Oh, I know,
Electoral
right,
College. Right. How about the alternative slate of electors that met up in some dark room with the Republicans and presented their own? Like, that shit was just fucking hilarious. I didn't go out for that because it was just really bad weather on there. But Dave Weigel was in Harrisburg, and I really wish I would have fucking seen this, because he, like, started tweeting about the the Jericho marching that was going on.
Hey, man, Trump and the Rosary, man. What else? What else could you want?
It is, yeah, but it is just like, but he was tweeting about it. The Jericho marching and all that stuff has died down. You could see Roxbury in the video, like him holding his camera, laughing at these fucking people. Like, just like these people are still going on, but it is ridiculous how. Yeah, I mean, the fuck.
Well, and there was a story too as well. There's another attempt to try to decertify
an election. Yes.
About this? Yeah.
Yes. So Senator Jim Brewster won his election by 69 votes against Nicole Ziccarelli. Brewster was reelected, and what ended up happening was that Brewster, or no, like pretty much like there's like 300 or 400 ballots that I guess broke towards Brewster that they are trying to have thrown out in court. The Republicans are, because of minor technicalities of like a date, your ballot not being dated personally by you, but the ballots were dated by the whatchamacallit, the post office prior to the election. So they're trying to overturn like years. Now, the state Supreme Court decided on this like 20 years ago when it was held by Republicans. It's always been held by Republicans. And pretty much like the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has always had a liberal approach to voting when it comes to not disenfranchising people over minor technicalities with their ballots. Because it's fucking stupid throwing someone's vote out because they forgot to date an envelope. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is what the Republicans are trying to do. So they're refusing. They are now threatening not to swear in and not to seat Brewster until this is happening. And this is the second fucking election in a row that they've done this with a close race. Like, and that has all you need to say.
There you have it. Yep, the crazy continue. Again, I like hearing these things and bringing them up, and having Sean kind of like, lay it out a little bit too as well. So, just as the reminder to the Civility Caucus, right? About who these people are, right? That these are not people that you should be reaching out to. I mean, these are people that need to go, right?
Yeah.
And they need to prove themselves in some sort of feat of strength. I think that's what has to happen.
But it's going to be interesting seeing how politics goes in Harrisburg in 2020. I absolutely think it's going to be a lot more toxic this year. Because
that's great. Welcome 2021, I guess.
Well, I mean, toxic in a way where like Democrats aren't going to put up with this bullshit anymore, nor should they.
Well, if that way, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Where like
I wouldn't necessarily call that toxic as much as like, okay, we're actually
growing a spine.
We're gonna have it's actually gonna be a real fight. So, okay, good.
Putting some steel in your spine.
I'm
pretty
fine
much.
With that.
It's been. I think I've been tweeting about this caucus for a bit. There's no legitimacy to this caucus, and I think that's getting hammered home with members. There are members who are liking those tweets, calling this fucking civility caucus out. Like, how can you have civility with people who have just spent 4 months trying to rig an election and then overturn it afterwards?
And are still at it.
Yes. And then are encouraging Proud Boys and fascists to go around in the streets and stuff like that. Like, sorry, like, these people, fuck these people is what I gotta say.
Well, we will definitely
fuck the Democrats, and fuck Democrats who think this is actually like a good thing.
Yep.
Having this bipartisanship caucus now, like, sorry, this is just not tenable. We're not talking about like we have to get certain issues passed for your organization because they can only happen with bipartisanship. No, this is about ending this bullshit now. It's about power. It's about organizing for the future. Stop conflating your personal issues with your organizations, and see the fucking forest through the trees.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like these people are not good faith actors, and they never have been. And we'll see if House Democrats and Senate Democrats want to preserve the institution versus fighting back.
There you go. There you go. And we will have, if you really want to dig more into this whole kind of like, civility stuff, tune in to Out to Coop Live on Monday because we will be talking about the limits of civility in democracy and the role of civility kind of a democracy. And I said this on I think I mentioned this last week when I was talking to Shayna Danielson and Tara Shakespeare about this. Like, when I'm going to the grocery store, right, and there's these like young folks, right, high school kids, kind of recent graduates, working as baggers and cashiers, right, who are kind of like just trying to do what they have. We glorify them as frontline workers, right? That's where I want civility. I want civility to say thank you to them, to have some patience with them, right? That's because they literally are putting themselves at risk every single day so that we can do the basic things, right? So I want some civility there. So I mean, I had this, I think I told this before, sorry, but it's like, the guy was in front of me, Trumper, whatever, giving this person a hard time, right? Because they weren't like moving quickly enough or something like this and yelling at him. Like, really? Really? I'm like, there's where you want your civility. Or, I can't tell you how many other times where I see these kind of like, again, I'm sorry, uppity liberals, right, who get frustrated with their quality of their service, right, and can't believe, right, that, how they were talked to by that person, right, or how they could possibly not have missed something, blah, blah, blah. Get all haughty about stuff. I want civility with in those situations, right? Not in situations where somebody is threatening to kind of like, basically effectively put thousands of millions of people at risk.
Or Ron Johnson blocking the stimulus checks right now.
Exactly.
As we're talking.
This is what I'm talking about.
Like right now, breaking news.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
At 11:59, Ron Johnson's blocking stimulus checks, $1,200 checks for people.
There you go. So yes, we'll continue this conversation on Out to Coop Live because we'll talk a little bit deeper, a little background about kind of civility and stuff like this. A little something for the holidays, especially as kind of everyone's going in. But when we come back, we're going to come back with this week's last call where we talk beer and we talk other kind of cultural things. There's an item that I forgot to mention kind of in the intro that I'll kind of come back to. But we'll have, beer news, space news, other stuff that comes up, and we'll have our closing 2020 wishes for you all, holiday wishes, all that kind of stuff, right when we get back. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. This is Raging Chickens Out to Goop's Last Call. We talk space news, we talk beer news, we talk whatever else we're talking about. What are we doing here and there? And today we'll have the extra special moment of giving you our end of the year holiday wishes for the new year. But before we get there, some quick space news. One, the big news, I'm serious. I think it's worth doing this. I mean, look, the last time this happened was 1623, right? So not like you're going to get to see this in your lifetime another time. Is that this year, I don't know if other people have noticed this, but for you've been able to, like, the Mars came, like, it was like the closest that has been to Earth in kind of in a while. I mean, Mars gets close kind of more often, but it was just really visible in the sky. And what was cool about it, it was like it was really visible at the same time that Saturn and Jupiter had been super visible in the sky, like all throughout the summer. Right. So we've been following it with my kids a little bit. I've been certainly, every time I walk my dog at night, I'm looking out there and following them across the sky. It's really cool. And I didn't realize it until just fairly recently. They're hearing reports about this. There's going to be the kind of great conjunction. And this is basically, if you look up in the sky, like at, I guess it would be like kind of southwest, I guess, kind of in there. Look up at the sky towards the south. You should be able to see them right after dark. If you go out tonight and you look, there'll be kind of two dots that are kind of pretty close to one another. And for those of you who may not know, right, you can tell a planet from a star because the planets don't blink, they don't twinkle, right?
I know that.
Okay, just making sure. I just, I'm not, don't want to assume anything. So you look out there and you could see a kind of a really bright, like a really bright light circle, and then a kind of a little one that's a little bit dimmer, but they're very close together now. And so if you go out there, you'll be able to see them tonight, and then over the next few days, each night at that time, they're going to be closer together until on the 21st, which is a solstice, which is pretty freaking cool. That's happening then. On the solstice, that they're going to look like basically they're kind of overlapping, right? And if I know at Kutztown University, the guy who runs the astronomy program there, Phil Reed, if it's a clear night, they're going to have the telescope out there. They're going to have an online program, which is going to be pretty cool. But you can go out and see that with the naked eye. Even if you got like binoculars or whatever, you can kind of get a better view of it. So but you got to do it early on in the night. So kind of like between 5 and 6, maybe even at 7 o'clock, you might be able to see it. But after that, they've gone beyond the horizon, so you won't be able to see it. So that's happening on Monday, December 21st. Pretty cool. Other cool stuff this week. If you remember, we talked about this in the show a while back. On December 6th, Japan had sent a lander, like a probe, to this asteroid called Ryugu, I think is how you say it, Ryugu. And it was the first time ever they've had a lander come down, or a probe that's gone down, touch down on the surface of an asteroid to get a sample, and then have that sample sent back to Earth. So that sample just came back this week, came down as planned in Australia, went out, kind of retrieved it, and they post a really cool picture up on their Twitter feed of them opening the canister to see what they got. And it's this kind of like dark, nearly black, kind of granular, kind of soil looking kind of stuff. And they're going to start kind of looking into that, investigating it, running some kind of tests on it to see what's actually composed of and thing. Just kind of one of these kind of historical markers that we're at. There's a whole bunch of stuff that was going on with the moon this week, but I'm going to leave that until later, because I think we're going to see more developments as we move forward. China is really, basically the short of it is China is really ramping up its program for the moon. They've have more landers that are going and that kind of stuff, but we'll get there when we get there. And space news. If you ever kind of really want to go like geek out in kind of the space world, space news is a good place to go. Because there's another one that, don't confuse that with space.com. Space.com is kind of more like the publicly accessible, place. They have kind of cool features that kind of come out, shorter articles and that stuff. Space news is kind of like the industry publication, right? Where if you really want to get in to find out which, say, companies are going on, which contracts are being on, what's happening and following the policy discussions within the government, Space News is a good place to go for that. And they have, every year they put together these winners of these awards, and they go from, kind of like the government award winners to a whole bunch of different kind of, award winners for different missions and who's our favorite corporation this year, that kind of stuff. You can check that out. But the two of the winners, whatever, the Mars 2020 program was the government mission of the year, and the SpaceX Demo 2 one, not the first mission, the first crew, but remember, if the Demo 2 mission was the first time they actually had people in there. It was called a demo because there wasn't a whole other kind of mission attached to it. It was strictly to see if they could get to this space station and then back successfully, and they did that. So that won for the commercial mission of the year. So the one thing I failed to mention, I can't believe I failed to mention this, especially after I talked to Paris Marks this week on Out to Coop Live, the new season of The Expanse is now streaming on Amazon Prime. And the reason why I say that in conjunction with Paris Marks is we got in a discussion a little bit about this, about billionaires and their kind of space, space civilization dreams that they've got. And Paris Marks has written a bunch of stuff about Jeff Bezos and his kind of his vision of the future, right, and settling space and all this. And The Expanse, I don't know if anybody has followed it, but it's based upon these series of books, the Expanse, and it's a pretty good show. I actually like the show a little bit better than I like the books, I have to say. We could talk about that another time, but it originally ran on Sci-Fi, right? It went, I believe, 3 seasons, and then they were like, we're going to cancel it. Well, Jeff Bezos, right, couldn't have that. Right, so Jeff Bezos immediately kind of sent out, on Twitter and things like this, that he was going to kind of rescue it. So Amazon was going to sweep in and rescue the series to keep it going, because we need more of these kind of future stories about what this is going to be like, right? He knows very much about the imagination. Now, the irony of this, The Expanse, unlike what you get with Star Trek, right? With Star Trek, where you've got this post-capitalist society, post-scarcity society, where they actually have critiques of the 20th century, 21st century capitalism, right? And they've got to do this forward. And The Expanse is kind of more the dystopian view of it. It is like the libertarian scenario, where most people kind of scrape by on what's called basic, which is like a basic income a la Silicon Valley, right? And you've got kind of a whole civilization emerging on Mars, but all space exploration and some of the moons of Jupiter and things like this, but all that stuff is only made possible, right, by the people who are mining the asteroid belts, right? And it's as dystopian as you can believe. They're called belters, and because they've been living so long in kind of like microgravity, right? Their kind of bodies are elongated, their organs haven't developed properly, right? And they can't get water. And then the corporations who run the whole stuff basically suppress any revolt by kind of shutting off water and air and things like this. So it's like whatever. So this is the series, right, that Jeff Bezos has decided that he wanted to save, right? The Expanse, because it has that kind of built-in critique, right, of this kind of this corporate thing. So it's just kind of the irony of it all. But anyways, the point of bringing it up, the new season is now streaming, and yes, it is on Amazon Prime. So do with that what you will. But I'm looking forward to it. I've been watching the whole season. I had read the books all before, so it's pretty cool. Last thing I'll say before we see what Sean's got going on is we got a couple new releases this week. Kind of gave him the little teaser up in the intro today. But Free Will has got new releases. As I said, they're going back to their Saturday release days. They got a little off that, in part because of the pandemic, trying to do different stuff, come up with new things. But they're going back to the regular Saturday release dates, and they'll get announcements kind of earlier on in the week. So we've got 2 releases this week. We've got Judo Refinancing. That is a hazy IPA with key limes and milk sugar. And I'll give you their description of it. This reimagined take on an old favorite was brewed with a base of pale malt and flaked oats, then dry hopped extensively with citrus bomb, cashmere, and lemon drop hops, before fermenting atop heaps of key lime puree. This version has a restrained bitterness compared to the first iterations and amplified lemon lime character. A reminder of a sunny beach days on our first snow of the year, memories of margaritas in Sedona, and probably the holidays in Florida. Key lime pie. That comes in at 6.4 ABV. Looks like a cool thing. This is the one, however, that I'm really looking forward to, just because this is kind of really in my wheelhouse. The Corvus Ideas That is an imperial stout with raspberry, chocolate, and milk sugar. It is brewed with a variety of specialty European American malts, boiled for an extra long 8 hours, then fermented atop raspberry puree, and finished on piles of cacao nib. How do you say it? Cacao nibs? Cacao nibs? Cacao nibs.
I think, yeah.
Cacao nibs. The result is a full-bodied treat with notes of raspberry cream, filled truffles, chocolate chip sherbet, and fresh picked black raspberries, and that comes in on 11.5 ABV. So looking forward to that one. And I got to plug it one part. I checked right before the show today that they still have some of these available. Black currant chocolate mash, still available in cans. It is so freaking good. It's a sour ale brewed with currant puree, chocolate, and milk sugar, and it pours like a brilliant deep purple red color with a bright pink head. It's like really just amazing to look at, number one. And like usual, expect big, fluffy body bursting with fruit tartness, rounded out with the addition of sweet chocolate and milk sugar. A favorite that we had to bring back, and yes, it is. It is my personal favorite one of the season. It is so good. So you can get those too as well. That's available at freewillbrewing.store. Freewillbrewing.store. You can actually order online, and you pick it up at the store, right? Let them know you're kind of coming. They'll have it ready for you. Or if you hit that, for the holidays, you want to kind of get some extra special kind of things for your friends or for your neighbors, whatever it might be. You get up to the $85. You cross that, you get free shipping anywhere in Pennsylvania. So there we have it. So Sean, what do you got going on, man?
Nothing too much. I've been pretty much like wrapped up my work for 2020, which is a great feeling. Celebrated last night by getting a dry aged steak and cooking that baby up.
You didn't post any pictures of that, did you, by any chance?
Yeah, I did. I posted food thirst content on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all 3 platforms.
It was good. Yeah. It was good. It looked good.
Oh yeah. So you want to talk about civility? We could talk about civility with my with my butcher, right?
Yeah.
Like the guy I go to, very like libertarian bent leaning. He probably voted for Trump, but he's probably like one of the best people, like awesome, like human being in general.
Yeah.
Besides politics, but like we were joking yesterday, like I've been going to Hummers for years now, like 6 years since moving to Harrisburg. So and he has a bunch of Democratic staffers who work for him. Like people actually enjoy working for him. They're staffers, like retired staffers who don't need the job, but like do it anyway because it's such a good place to work at.
Yeah,
and you're like working in your community farmers market, which is like pretty cool. And his staff is amazing. He was telling me that he's going to be coming up with, he was experimenting the other night, making butter garlic cubes for butter basting steak. So unsalted butter with rosemary, thyme, garlic, and stuff like that infused into it. And so he's gonna like a couple tablespoons each, like, and just to like base like steak in. And he said herbs, and I asked him like any other type of herbs in there.
Did he laugh?
Oh, he knew exactly what I was talking about. He's just like, so he
you
was
effectively
laughing.
got
Like,
my mouth watering, by the way. Just so
he's laughing. He's like, no, but I got some banging cookies going around. So, so we had a fun time. Nothing really too much. I'm getting ready to go home. Haven't had a beer in a week. I'm back on my no beer diet. Trying to see how long I can make that last. I mean, I'm going to get a 4-pack of Pizza Boy next week and maybe a Crowler Sunny Side Up, but I'm consciously making the effort to, not gain 15 pounds over the holidays. So, which is like kind of like a hard thing to do with that stuff. So, I'm putting myself through misery right now.
There you go. Well, at least you're going to come out of it with, you've got like a new, I don't know,
wardrobe.
Yeah, new wardrobe and, a potential, it might be an Instagram spinoff of Sean's Fashions channel or something like that.
Oh, well, so I got scheduled for a haircut. I sent my barber a message yesterday. I was like, can I get a haircut? And he said, I'm going to come to your fucking apartment. He's my next door neighbor. He's like, I'm going to come to your apartment and punch you in your face if you think you're going to get a haircut before Christmas. And I'm like, no. I mean, like after the holidays and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'll be having a couple weeks to like lay around and self-quarantine after the holidays.
Yeah.
And then, get my haircut afterwards. So I'm looking forward to that. I kind of have an idea what I want to do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for I want to go full Arthur Shelby.
There you go.
With the undercut.
There you go.
Hey, I need to fit in with these people somehow. Like, you know what I mean? So,
man.
No, that's pretty much like my next 3 weeks I'm looking forward to. We're going down to South Philly on Wednesday to visit my aunt. Her neighbor has COVID, so we're not going to go inside. We're just going to do a curbside drop off for her and get her some bagels, coffee, and some a cheesesteak from John's Roast Pork, which is like the best. Like, so I'm looking forward to that. I mean, like, there are some things that I have not been able to have for like months or a year or two, and the John's Roast Pork is one of them. So,
well, hey man, I wish you the best. As we said, this is going to be our last show of 2020 because we got Christmas coming up on the. Normally we take 2 weeks at this time anyway, or over that time span anyways. It goes like a week and a half or 2 weeks anyways at this point. Just because everyone's with.
Oh, I am also.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Looking forward to getting a new camera lens over Christmas break.
There you have it.
Yes.
There you have it.
I want to thank everyone for this past year who hired me for stuff. I had a couple really big gigs this year with my camera equipment, with like shooting stuff. And, I was able to reinvest that money back into getting camera equipment. And one of the things I asked for Christmas from my parents was a gift card to B&H Photo. So we'll see how big it is, because it's the only thing I asked for.
That's my son's strategy, by the way. He's gonna I'm only
just ask
asking
for one gift.
Thing.
Yeah.
You're like, well, you want anything else? Just
nope.
one.
What's that? Xbox, PlayStation 5?
No, gaming computer.
But well, just as good. But no, I mean, like, the one thing I asked for my parents this year. Usually we get like one big thing, but is gift card for a lens. I rented that 35 millimeter lens a couple of times this year. If you saw the photos I've taken from the Count Every Vote rallies, that was the lens I went out and rented right away as soon as I got asked. That thing is a dream lens. It is a dream lens because of the price as well. But I mean, the photos it takes, the pictures like that it produces is nothing like anything I've shot with over the past year. So, and I really hate using my 50 millimeter lens. It's too narrow of a lens,
Yeah.
I need something a little bit wider. I love that 35 millimeter focal length. And there's nothing like having a good fucking prime lens. Like, you can not only can you shoot low light, but they are so sharp and crisp, the photos. It's such a nice lens. I'm looking forward to using it, and looking forward to making money off that baby in 2022 and 2021.
There you go. That's Sean's New Year's resolution: grift more.
Hey, no, I'm actually thinking about starting my own comms firm or photography shop in 2021. I think I've built enough of a cachet to do that.
Hey, will we learn more about that? Should we subscribe to your newsletter? Oh, wait.
At least I just stopped the newsletter as soon as I figured I wasn't going to be keeping up with it.
That is true.
I could have just kept it going and have people wondering, the fuck is this newsletter? Just check your spam filters.
What do you mean? What are you saying about it?
Yeah,
big release this week.
I mean, we have some big things for 2021 coming up. I'm really excited. I can't wait. I'm glad this year is fucking over with.
Yeah.
Definitely not how any of us wanted it to go, but
yeah,
it's here. Hopefully we're out of this by April, May.
Well, Pfizer is saying that by the summer, then they're going to have the last rounds coming out. So I mean, hopefully it happens before then. I mean, as more vaccines emerge and things, and we can at least see what direction things can go from here. I mean, I'm actively resisting any talk of kind of return to normal, because I don't think it's going to. I think it's going to be a different scenario. So I mean, at least at least once we get this under like manageable, not under control. I hate that word too as well.
So one of my friends who's in the office posted boring is sexy. And I'm just like, dude, that's the wrong fucking take right now. Like, if you think boring is sexy, then we're going to be back in the same situation, if not worse, within 4 years with another Republican.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, what I could say is, like, I'm really looking forward, looking ahead to getting past this, right? As we kind of like hunker down for the what will hopefully be the final wave of this, if we can actually get it under some sort of kind of manageable spread. We're looking forward, but I also want to kind of thank everybody who's come out to support us. I mean, this is it's been really heartening to me to actually see the turnout from our Out the Coop live shows. I mean, it's been a new feature. There's I made it a determination. I was working on it for a while to try to figure out how to actually make it work. I still don't think that I'm 100% there with happy how to do it. I'm looking at some other options. But really, I mean, it's been people coming out to support the show have made it possible for me to kind of try that out, and it's actually been really successful so far. I mean, we get great turnout, we get some great views. The conversations have been fantastic on those interviews and Out to Coop Live, and we look forward to just a whole new slew of folks coming in the spring. We got some good stuff planned already. Got like 3 or 4 kind of folks that are kind of interested in coming on the show. We haven't nailed down dates yet because everyone's in the mode. Well, let's. After the holidays, we'll kind of get there, and that's kind of where I'm at too as well. But we'll think one of the ones that, again, like I mentioned earlier, we'll have some folks from KU Activists come on, kind of like mid-January at least. Then we'll have some other folks that are kind of doing some amazing stuff in our kind of local politics. We're going to look at some different authors, which we're going to bring on. We're going to talk to some different strategists. So it's going to be a really cool thing. So I thank all of you, especially for those folks who decided, to come out and kind of step up, become patrons this year. Going to patreon.com/rcpress, becoming a patron for as little as $5 a month. You hear me say it over and over again. That we also now kind of like expanded that with our kind of like paypal.me/rcpress, so you can actually do one-time donations. Especially to be my final plea, like you're looking to give someplace for the holidays. No, you're not going to get a tax donation, tax deduction for that. Sorry, right? But we want to be as kind of people supported as possible. So thanks all of you who kind of came out and kind of helped support us this year, and thank you for those folks who have been with us from the get-go. I mean, there's people that we have who are kind of patrons of this show. Have been even before there was Patreon. There were members of the show through variety means who've been with us before we even had a podcast. Right? They were been with us when we were writing. The other thing I should mention. This is what I wanted to mention as part of it. But thank you for those folks who've been there from the beginning. One of the cool things we got on the works, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we can make this happen, but we seem to got like a small group of people, right, that may be willing to get back to doing some of the writing in the Raging Chicken, because as those of you folks have noticed, is that we've really been focusing on our podcast at this point, and that just has to do with everything with the kind of the realities of our lives, right? I think in a perfect world we'd be able to kind of be still churning out the content there, but that's just not been doable over the past 9 months, right? I mean, it's been too much. So we've been focusing on the podcast. We've been getting really good traction there. But my hope was always that we're going to be able to find kind of a group of folks who be willing to come up and kind of fill that void that's there. I'm going to be doing some of the kind of redesign on our webpage on the ragingchickenpress.org site. So that's going to have a different look to it coming in on the new year. So, and that's, all been part of all the things that you've all done. So I wish you all, right, happy holidays. I hope all your packages arrive on time, right?
My shoes.
Your shoes, right? What would Christmas be without those shoes?
So I was thinking about this. Like, I actually don't need the shoes right now. I'm not really that worried because of all the fucking snow on the ground, and I don't want to get these white sneaks dirty, ruin them with rock salt and slush. So I'll wait until middle of February before I start calling the USPS. Asking where the shoes are at.
Yeah, for those of you who are listening to on the podcast, on the video, you're missing Sean clutching his pearls right now. Oh my God, my white shoes could get rock salt on them.
Hey, so one of the things it's like this pot. I mean, like it's this year has changed. I think me a lot too. Just like it's kind of odd. Like I was thinking about this the other night, how like I'm not the most sociable person. Never like was like out like I more of a loner type, but like I have my group of friends here in Harrisburg. But it's amazing what this isolation has done in forcing me out of that shell a bit more. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like getting back into better shape, getting back into, I don't know why I lost weight this year, my dieting. Like, I don't know if it's just like the stress and like the anxiety of all of this, but it's just like, it's forced me out of that shell a bit more. And no, I mean, like, I feel like I've grown a bit. I feel like I'm not, I mean, like we're talking about this, but it's been 6 years since I've moved to Harrisburg.
Yep.
I signed my lease to Harrisburg 6 years ago this week. Like, and, it was the Raging Chicken Press readers and people who donated to a GoFundMe page to, like, get me a computer that I'm still using to this day.
Yep.
Somehow it's not crashed. I don't know how. but, like, it's just like, no, I mean, like, thank you to everyone. And it's been, I've never, my wildest dreams thought I would be in Harrisburg for 6 years. I thought it would just be like a 1 or 2 year stop along the way. And, now I'm thinking about starting a business or, and thinking about like this buying a house out here, start saving up for a house and all. So it's been fun.
Yeah. So yeah, in no time, Sean's going to be taking part in the mansion wars right on the right on Front Street.
I'll be the next Latour and Zaborni.
Exactly.
I'll be the liberal. I'll be the liberal Latour.
Exactly. Well, man, it's been a great community. I think the one thing that I have to say that I've really missed, and I understand the reasons why. The like Keystone Progress has kind of changed its direction, and we got PA Stands Up, which I think is like such a better move, right, in terms of like putting and organizing and all that stuff. But I have to say, the one thing that I really miss is about the PA Progressive Summit, is that we were able to have kind of meetups afterwards, and we get together. It's never kind of like a huge group, but have an opportunity to kind of like to sit down at those things and kind of have a Raging Chicken meetup afterwards, and get some beer and have some food, and I miss that, and I miss the kind of the face-to-face stuff. So one of the things that again, everything depends on where we get past all this, but that's something maybe we'll bring back at some point, maybe kind of in conjunction with some different summits, something like this, or maybe just kind of do some random meetups where kind of meet up here, say in Bucks County, because I know we got a bunch of folks here in kind of the Bucks County area that kind of listen in, folks down in Philadelphia meeting up down there, out in Harrisburg, even out in in
I know, like,
Pittsburgh
one thing I'm looking forward to once this breaks by this spring summer, I want to throw a party or a cookout at my apartment, just to have like a good like housewarming
event.
Like, you know what I mean? It's been like I was talking to Eugene the other night, who called me up out of nowhere and thanked me for supporting him throughout the primary, which was awesome. Just stand up person. No, we were talking, and once this breaks, we were all talking about grabbing beers and finally shooting the shit. It was amazing, like sitting down with Eugene once this all started, and we made a prediction in August of 2019 that it was going to be Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. This is me being a Bernie stan at the time. And that Trump is going to do everything he can to fuck things up out the door.
Nope. There you go.
And we couldn't like be more dead on.
Yeah, there you go.
So.
Oh, perfect. Well, hey, Sean, I wish you the best holiday, man. I hope, you could stay safe, that you enjoy the time with your family. Everyone stays safe, and I will say that to everybody out there too as well. Please, I know how hard it's going to be to get through the holidays without the kind of the traditions and the get-togethers and things like that. So, hang in there. We'll try to be there with you.
There'll always be next year's holidays.
There's always going to be next year, right? And you want to make sure that everybody's going to be there for next year, right? So buckle up, buckle in, but enjoy the holiday in the best that you can. Enjoy this kind of new year, and and I know that people are put a lot of pressure back on kind of the holiday, but like, oh man, it's so 2020, like as if it's the year. I understand that you want to focus on that. Okay, it's not just like a year that does this, but I do think I'm going to feel like some relief when I hear, when I see that calendar click forward to 2021. and knowing that we're putting behind us really 4 years of freaking insanity. So, not that solves all our problems. We got a lot of work ahead of us, but I think that we got to be happy at least where we are now to go forward. So, I wish you all happy holidays. Thank you for support, and I want to thank a special goes out to Jonathan Mann, and I'm so glad I made the connection with him this year, who's kind of allowed us to kind of use his one of his songs for our outros for this podcast and for our theme song for Out to Coop Live. So this is a special happy holidays to Jonathan Mann too as well. So Sean, have a great one, man. We'll see you on the flip side.
See you in 2021.
Yeah, here we go. All right, this is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. Going out with Jonathan Mann. You can follow all his great stuff on his YouTube page at Jonathan Mann, or follow him on Twitter at Song a Day Man with 2 N's. Thank you all. Happy holidays. See ya!
My face, my arms, can't tell if I exist. Am I the sky, the rock, or tree falling in the forest? I had a friend once, at least I think I did. I almost can't remember exactly what a friend is. There are no people in the future. No people. There are no people in the future. No people at all. There are no people in the future. Where did all my people go? There are no people in the future. Let me try my people.
Hey, man.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to this.